Hello, everybody. This is Anthony Be Honest from Mission Start Podcast, and if you enjoy listening to us, not only on the website but also on iTunes, be sure to check us out on Stitcher as well. Stitcher is an iPhone, Android app, also on other smartphones. You can download for free, and also registration is for free too. It's an app that you can listen to any podcast that is on there without ever downloading a file. When you register with Stitcher, be sure to put in promo code Mission Start or Conover or both, and you get to automatically be entered into a $100 prize every month from Stitcher. So be sure to check us out, support us, and we'll support you guys. Hey everybody, this is Anthony, Be Honest from Mission Start Podcast, and we have a brand spanking new Conover episode for this week. With me today, I have actually the host of the Rolling 20s, Jeremy, or Fright.
Hey, Freight's here. Yeah, for some reason I feel like I need like Degeneration X style entrance music.
Yes, exactly. With the green flares and the green smoke coming out with the X symbol on the monitor. Yeah, that's awesome.
Absolutely. Me dancing around, crotch shopping, embarrassing myself. That's perfect.
And then with us tonight is also our reporter from our website, Mission Our Podcast, Christopher Stern.
Yo, what up?
And the reason why they're with me tonight is because we all attended fanime last weekend ago. It was quite the experience. Obviously, there's a lot to talk about, but I think the one thing we all must talk about, because everybody went through it, was the line con, or the lines at fanime for registration.
Yeah.
I filled up a whole goddamn album on the page just dedicated to that.
Jeremy,
that was bad.
Yeah. Jeremy, you were there on day 0, so you were there before any of us. The lines I heard were pretty bad, like on day 0.
It wasn't just the lines that was bad. The organization really kind of killed the people there. I mean, obviously we got press badges, so I didn't have to wait in that.
Mm-hmm.
But I did drop off someone at 1 p.m., which is the earliest they would let anyone line up. They were actually turning away people earlier than that.
Wow.
But over the course of about 5 hours, what they did was they started out in a small ballroom. Then they moved them to another ballroom. Then they split them in half among the 2 ballrooms. Then they took them outside. Then they took them inside and had them wait in a big ballroom just so they could shove them into another room after that.
Yeah.
And that was before they actually started processing the registrations.
Right. And the issue was that the fanime staff were understaffed for registration, and I think the entire convention.
Well, there's kind of a debate about it. What I heard was that a lot of the regulars from the past few years have actually left the convention. Not like Anime Expo, there's been a purge type thing, but they just kind of moved on. So there was a lot of new people who were left kind of unsure how things should work.
Ah, I see.
So all they did was they took the model from the last few years and implemented it without really trying to update it for current numbers or just fan demands.
Mm-hmm. Chris, you were there. You saw what happened. You also saw me in line too as well.
Yeah, when you had tried to go and get your your swap meet pass.
Yeah.
That was lovely to watch.
Oh my god, that was, I cannot tell you, like, at first I thought, because when I got to the big ballroom, like, I was thinking, like, okay, I thought that was the end, like, we're getting out. It's like, okay, I can get my badge finally. I walk over and I see an entire room filled with people in line. I almost lost it at that point. I was just like,
weren't you pissed?
Oh man, I was just like, I was already just like, my patience was already high, but
it's like that South Park episode of the Carnival. Did you enjoy the ride? What ride? We were just in line for half an hour. Yeah, it was the line simulator ride.
Now here's your line to get your pictures of waiting in line.
Yeah, I will say I did hear people. I did hear that there were people actually on day zero giving out snacks and water to people that were waiting in line. Like people were doing some good goodwill stuff. Because like obviously people were just you know, having the patience really tested, but also like standing there for hours. Hungry.
Oh, they had their endurance tested. Word from a few different sources is that the paramedics were called for a few people who fainted on day zero.
Oh, wow, really?
Yeah, it was about a half dozen on day zero, and I think about 2 or 3 on Friday.
Wow.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. That does not compare to how bad it was on Saturday, which made up, I'd say, about 85 of the 101 shots that I took from...
Wow. I was curious about Saturday, too, because I knew Saturday was going to be the big day, and registration would be just insane on that day.
Well, sit down, children. Let me tell you a story. So,
it was a 3-hour tour.
Actually, no, 3 hours would have been very nice by comparison. A couple of things. One, my friend Steven Santoyo, he's an admin on a page called Cool Story Bro, What's Next? Not that that really matters. But he said that on day zero, he got in line at 6:30, something like that. He didn't get his ticket until 1:30 in the morning.
Wow, that's insane.
The sad part is that I was working on making my jacket for my Vincent Brooks cosplay, and I had started when he said that he got in line. I didn't actually get finished with all of my stuff until well after that he had gone and told me, yeah, so I just got my pass. And I'm like, dude, how long has it been? 6 hours. Oh, shit.
Yeah.
That unfortunately sounds comparable to the nonsense on day zero. I didn't see my friend.
No, that was
until,
day zero.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I didn't see mine for 8.5 hours.
Mm.
Yeah, and the thing is sorry, I don't mean to interject. Go ahead.
No, it's okay. I was just going to say mine was probably one of the first 100 people online, so he should have been one of the guys that was in and out at about 7:30.
Yeah, in my case though, a few of my friends that I happen to be rooming with, they were going around and getting their tickets and everything. Got there at the ass crack of dawn, and we were waiting in line at I think it was 8:30 in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
And to my knowledge, they didn't get their passes until about 4.
Wow. Wow.
I'm not even exaggerating.
Wow.
So that's day one, standing in line for the Matterhorn.
Yeah. Well, that was kind of everybody's experience though. Like everybody who had to get a badge on site or pre-reg even, we had to spend most of the day in line. It was
they pretty much killed their entire day.
Yeah, it really did.
It went from the side of the hotel on this one street, looped around the building, went all the way across the museum, and then the line zigzagged back and forth from there.
If I may, the line wasn't exactly the only problem, though, because I had a press badge, I was special reg. I spent most of the day kind of wandering around and doing any errands I could do by foot.
Mm-hmm.
I must have run into about 25 people on day zero who all asked the same question inside the convention center. Where's registration? So I ended up getting the name of the hotel, I was pointing in that direction all day, and people were just... I don't know what it is about me. I am 36 at this point. I have this growth of hair on my face. Yet for some reason everyone stopped and said, that big, wide-looking fellow, he must be the one that knows the way. Let alone I'm wearing a dark shirt that has a fake newsprint on it that says, "Newsflash, I don't care." But apparently no one reads this.
Wow, that is awesome.
Well, they figured, they see Newsflash and they're, oh, okay, he's wearing an ironic press shirt. Maybe he knows stuff.
Yeah, everyone just kind of said, ooh, reverse psychology. He understands everything, and he must be so gentlemanly.
To preference all of this, obviously, the thing that was different this year than in previous years is that the registration for fanime this year was held in a different hotel at the Fairmont, which is adjacent to the park. For people who have gone to fanime, it's kind of right near it or right across from it.
Yeah, it's across the section and down the street from the convention.
Mm-hmm.
Right next to the snake statue, which is supposed to be a representation of Quetzalcoatl. Unfortunately, it looks like a spiral, a piece of shit.
Yeah, it really does.
That's not an exaggeration.
Really? I would have said G.I. Joe prop.
I literally do mean it looks like a spiral of feces.
Yeah,
In fact, it's
like in animes, like you have like that kind of, I
the
guess.
swirly poop.
Yeah, swirly poop. It looks like it. The other thing, the preference in all this is that in previous years, registration was held inside the convention center, on two sides, and usually it wasn't as bad except for last year because power went out. Um, but it the because of the combination of the convention center still under construction, the amount of people coming in for fanime and also being staff either understaffed or staff that were just not knowing how to do things because of new people coming in. A combination of all those made things very tiresome for some people, and most people got their badges and was glad. But like I have to say, for people that guy and everybody else who went in that line, we were pretty much went through hell and back just to get the badge.
Well, the construction really did change the landscape of registration right off the bat. I mean, my first week in the place, the area where you usually had to turn a corner to get into a secondary line for registration has now been narrowed to a point where two people can barely walk shoulder to shoulder due to a new box office being put in.
Yeah, definitely.
So it added a whole bunch of choke points, and the unfortunate thing is, even if that construction ran on time, it was supposed to be done just after fanime ended. So, anyone thinking they would get a reprieve if those guys were working faster, it was not in the cards.
Yeah, definitely. So while we're on the topic of the convention center and the construction, as you guys might have saw, like inside the convention center, it was it didn't change much, but you would see in I believe toward the Hilton side, there were some changes that were done.
Exhibit halls 2 and 3, right?
It effed up my day zero.
Yeah.
It wasn't because of anything purposefully done, but the thing is, on the convention floor where the halls were, towards the Hilton side, there was this wall that was put up where they were joining the expansion to the building.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, it was one of those things that unless you got up close, it was this perfect optical illusion where it looked like they had walled off the upper area. It just was not able to cross. I did not find out till late on day zero I could walk through it when a couple of Magica Madoka cosplayers walked through the area and suddenly going, holy crap, there's magic here!
Well, they are magic girls, so, I mean, it's not far-fetched.
That made it worse, though, because I'm staring at this 36-year-old heavy-set guy going, holy shit.
Yeah, it was interesting. The hallways were more narrow than previous years due to construction. There were big numbers. The hallways, the rooms were, the dealer's hall and the video game room and other rooms that were being held had like these giant numbers that were next to them, so you know which one you're going to. So
yeah, the rooms definitely used to be marked by letters, and now they've tried to make it idiot proof.
Yeah, definitely. I will say the cool addition they did make in that section or kind of on the walls is that they added this kind of little lamp or this little light on the side of the walls. You can actually sit down and and chill, and also have multiple plugs, so in case you needed to charge your phone or you needed to plug in something, they'll have it there, which is convenient for people who are on the go or low on battery life for their phone or whatnot.
Well, more convention centers are moving towards a point where they add plugs simply because they're trying to keep those people that they drove 2 hours because they didn't want to spend money on a hotel room, and they're trying to keep us at bay for a little bit.
Oh right, definitely. Aside from that, there really wasn't much change as far as like the convention center itself. The one thing that I will say that and Chris, you can speak to this too because it does concern them, is that the one move that I was very interested, that I understand why exactly,
and poorly executed, I'll go ahead and explain in detail later,
was the movement of the artist alley from where it was before in the convention center to the back of the to the back of the convention center, literally.
Yeah, that was horrible.
Yeah, I mean, really, I will say it was the biggest artist alley that I've been in a long time. That was cool, but like, I kind of...
They turned into an actual alley.
Yeah, we're not kidding. So Chris, can you shed some light into that? Because did not really look into it as much, but there were some things that the artist didn't like about being moved.
All right. Well, there's a lot that I can say, and uh, I'm just gonna go ahead and give you guys warning. If I have free range to go into full detail about what I've seen and the feedback I've received, I could probably take up an entire section.
I see. Okay, so give us the meaty ones first, the good ones, short and sweet.
Um, to put it as simply and as expeditely as possible, most of the artists there, they had mixed reactions, but it generally came off negative in regards to the change that was brought over to the whole convention center.
Mm.
Without naming names yet, since that's what I had mentioned in filling in the whole section.
Mm-hmm.
For the artists that I did interviews with, I haven't gone into any full-length ones with them, save for the 5 to 10 minute segments that I had at different booths. But from what I've gathered, the artists, they felt like everything was, for lack of a better word, an ass pull. They pulled everyone from a perfectly suitable Exhibit Hall 1, which, quite frankly, held enough room to cater to everyone, save for the fact that it would be more cramped and like a bazaar, if anything.
Right.
That the space was welcome, but unfortunately the fact that they didn't have any directional signs stating that the Artist Alley has been moved from Exhibit Hall 1 to this side building that's behind the convention center itself led to a lot of very negative reactions. The fact that there was this open space had also led to a tanking of sales. I'll go ahead and mention one of them, Katarina Bragg, who used to do some art with us, but, work catches up with everyone. Anyway, we could probably edit that. But Katarina, I was over at her booth, and what I had gathered from there was that their sales had actually done worse than SAC Anime because of the lack of crowding. Thing is that it's a psychological effect that when you see a bunch of people crowded up around something, whether it's intentional or not, like people are crowding because they want to see something or crowding because there's not enough room to move around in, it causes people to take a moment to actually look at what everyone else might be looking at. And as a result, it compels people to possibly buy things. Unfortunately, this was absent, and you're looking at seeing lots and lots of people there, but only maybe, a handful or less people just waiting at a booth and occasionally looking at stuff, and it did poorly for sales. So, in that respect, fanime staff screwed the artist over.
I see. The things I did notice is that while the Artist Alley was moved to the back of the convention center, I did notice that there wasn't really any indication to where exactly it's at. No signs to really point the direction of where the Artist Alley. The only way you would find out is if you went online prior to coming to an event, or people were asking each other within the con, like, where's the Artist Alley, and they'll point you in the direction. What I was gonna say is that while the Artist Alley was in the back, like in place of it. In the Exhibit Hall 1, for like the Thursday, Friday, it was Swap Meet at the night, but majority of the space was empty, and like within the Exhibit Hall was that it was vendors or like Jamba Juice and some donut vendor that was there too, and like 2 or 3 others.
You mean Psycho Donuts?
Yeah, like there were just vendors in Exhibit Hall in place of the Artist Alley. I wasn't sure exactly if the reason being maybe because they paid enough to get that space, or is it the fact that it was something else? And
unfortunately, from what I've gathered, it's a lot darker than you'd think.
Oh shit, really? Jeremy, what were you gonna say prior to real quick?
Oh, I was gonna say I didn't do much digging into the rationale. It seemed like they shoved the overflow from the dealer's hall line in there simply for the sake of at least on the surface, it seemed like because of the sake of the construction and trying to stick these people somewhere. But a lot of the artists, at least the ones I talked to, were really ticked about this. It seemed like there was a whole hall they could have been put in. They could have had the overflow from the dealer's hall line at least to talk to prior to the hall opening up. And this whole room is being used for nothing but late night archery, 2 nights worth of swap meet, and 4 food vendors, and a bunch of sitting tables. And I spoke to a few after the convention was done, sat down with them for a burger, and these were a bunch of young ladies, but they could have spit at me just for asking the question.
Wow.
They were that mad.
Wow. So, Chris,
Yes,
I'm going to allow you to do this because on this podcast, I don't really care, what we say. I mean, as long as we're telling our experiences and we're being honest. Because honestly, I don't want to be talking out here and like be all, goody with whatever con I went to. But like, it's also good to shed the bad side that happened with it too. So I'm just throwing it out there. So everybody who's listening to this, we keep it real.
Yeah.
We keep this stuff real. We're not gonna fake anything. So, Chris, go on. Unveil the curtain that is underneath.
Well, this is mainly from attendee speculation.
Okay,
So
all right.
Just take this as an unofficial statement.
Right.
And I'm going to repeat that.
Okay.
As we said in
Unofficial.
the 20s, grain of salt, people. Grain of salt.
But from what I had gathered, because they had moved the artist alley over to accommodate all these different artists, and in fact, I had also heard that a lot of artists were able to get their spot there because of requests made by several people. And one of them is the artist for the website parasomniacomics.blogspot.com.
Mm-hmm.
He's the writer for a comic called Dave the Punk Rock Cat, who I had a decent interview with him as well.
Okay.
I'm sure that, Freight, you know who I'm talking about?
Not entirely, but I'm assuming you mean you had an interview with the writer and not the punk rock cat himself.
No, I mean, that cat was bitching, so. But, no, from what I have gathered was that because they had moved all those people over there, they had set up the swap meet over there, but had only considered, day 0 and day 1. So for all that extra space, they had figured by not selling it out, they can use that as a cheap area for relaxation. And as many of us who have wandered in there noticed, that 85% of that section was completely empty. And why? Just for the sake of having open space.
So that is the at least the speculation why the move
That's
happened.
part 1.
Okay, part 1. Okay.
Part 2 to that is for all the snack vendors that you had seen in there, they were, again, from what I've gathered, it was deemed a more necessary effort to have food and hydration stations set up. So, there was the setup that was by the, I want to say Marriott Hotel.
Mm-hmm.
There was the setup in Exhibit Hall 1, and then there's the cafe in the Fairmont. Or not the Fairmont, but the Hilton.
Right.
There was a stand outside the Hilton, too, yeah.
Okay.
And not only that, but there was also the, as I'm sure we all saw, the various Mexican hot dog carts.
God, those were godlike.
Unfortunately, I never got to enjoy one of their bacon dogs.
Oh man, it's so good. Oh, it was worth it.
I heard someone jizz themselves eating it.
Oh man, it was good. I recorded my friend eating one. I was just like asking him he's like the before and after. So he's like, after he ate it, he's like, I want more. But go on. Sorry about that.
So mainly they had that set up to take vendors, as I'm sure that many of us have known, that's the ramen vendor, the ramen vendor, the mini quote-unquote bakery vendor. All of those were originally set up in the vendor's hall before because they figured that, it's an easy opportunity to sell overpriced, crap food.
Mm-hmm.
And, sell it to people that's, are gullible enough to buy it.
Mm-hmm.
So when it came down to it, it was a way of better exploiting the consumer in order to propagate a business.
I see.
So in that regard, they played it up to where they figure, okay, we have a cafeteria-like setting, more people are going to be inclined to buy from them, and it helps out those vendors, but at the same time, it also gave them free reign to charge, I think it was like $2.50 for a small bottle of ramen and about $5 for a large one.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and they charged like $3 for the snack cakes that they had, and it was just an ample opportunity for them to price gouge everything. And
Mm-hmm.
I took one look at the prices, turned on my heels, and left.
I see.
Well, the latter part of that theory, at least, I don't think is simply on the part of fanime. The vendors
me reading
themselves,
into it a bit more.
yeah, the vendors themselves have been doing that at conventions for the past 4 years, I find.
Yeah, I mean, like, that's kind of a standard thing at conventions. But I see what you're saying because of because obviously there's big questions for us, like why this amount of space is empty in this room while artist alley is back in the back of the convention center. So I can understand those things. It's interesting the fact that it that they wanted space, but they also wanted like more food vendors in water places, which I can understand. Like like when you're at a convention, sometimes you don't want to walk all the way 3-4 blocks down to get something to bite to eat or go drink something. You want it there at the con, but at the same time, it felt like that that money, or I guess I wouldn't say like health was supposed to be my priority, but like more like um money doesn't really win you votes at cons, I guess. Is there some way to really explain it? um but yeah, it is interesting to hear all this. Was there any more to it that you found out, or was that mainly the main points that
Those were the two main points. Other than that, it was more to accommodate the guests rather than focus on any particular aspect. When I had mentioned all that open space, while a majority of it did go open, um, a lot of it was used for, basically a relaxation center, for lack of a better term. Because let's face it, you're looking at walking, hell, several miles over a course of a day, so it's
true.
easy to
It's
just
true.
have a place where you can just sit down, and if you want, have enough space to where you can be away from people or be as close to people as you want.
That's just kind of bizarre to me, considering there was that new section downstairs that had all these round tables.
Yeah, I know, right?
If I stepped down there at any point, as long as I was forward enough to just put down my stuff and look each person in the eye, nobody said move.
Yeah, definitely. There was more space built underneath. And the space we're talking about is that where registration was in the previous years of anime was converted into this kind of almost cafe lounge type of area. There were tables, there were chairs, there was a little stage. And it was a lot of space for people to sit, so it's not a section for people to kind of relax and whatnot.
And those were put down there for fanime. I saw them picking it up on just after the convention was over. They were folding up the tables and moving them.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. Very interesting. Yeah, like we said, like we're keeping this stuff real. We're not holding back anything. Aside from that, obviously the other big change, I think the only other big change I can see with the convention was that where the front of the convention center, there were these kind of steps that were made.
Yeah.
That were actually, I actually like that idea. Like I like the fact that people can like kind of sit down or kind of chill and relax, instead of having nothing there and just kind of having just a floor to sit on at late at night sometimes. So it was actually.
I will finish your thought.
Oh no, I was gonna say no. It was a really. I like the idea, and I like how it was implemented.
Yeah, I love the concept, but the problem was, as soon as I looked at it, I could see the nightmare coming, because in the last 2 years, before the convention took over as much, or not the convention, the construction took over as much space as it did, it was already tough to move through there if any gathering started inside. Now there's a perfect place, not only to stack your cosplayers, but to give photographers a good excuse to spread into half the lobby.
Yeah, Yeah, that's true. But it gives somewhat of a better chance for people to walk around, or say you can actually have people do their gatherings on those steps, and you can actually walk around it and don't have to worry about having it like in part of the section of the entryway or something to that matter. Um, so yeah.
I mean, the glass, the interior glass in the lobby was all covered with these faux vinyl prints of bamboo. I honestly hope they keep those up. That was more relaxing than anything I could have anticipated.
Right. Chris, did you manage to see that when you were entering the con, or was it something that was like, oh hey, that's new?
Honestly, when it came to the overall construction of the building, I thought that, well, you guys remember the big old fountain that they had up in the front,
Yes,
right?
rest in peace, fountain.
Well, I sincerely hope that they're going to bring it back. I honestly didn't really get much of a chance to look over the construction plans for the convention center.
Mm-hmm.
I seriously doubt that's going to be back.
Yeah, I would.
It was like the perfect place setting too, and it's just
Yeah.
it's a shame, but
Well, with the new building, though, they don't have that much more space to put extra walkways out there, so they're going to need all they can get.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, though, I felt like that was cool, but I think the reason why they might have gotten rid of it just for safety purposes, because, somebody might, like, goof around and slip and fall right into the fountain and, break their arm or something.
Well, there was money purposes, too. When San Jose nearly went bankrupt about 3 years ago, the city started shutting down all of its public fountains.
Oh, I see. Wow, okay.
They left open a few that had, like, private funding and subsidies, but for the most part, I'd say 2 out of every 3 fountains, they just started turning them off.
Oh, wow, I see. Okay. So it's more of a city issue than anything else. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so even though it would be aesthetically pleasing to keep them, I guess I can see their points on that.
Mm-hmm.
It's still depressing to just see that, we don't have that.
Right, I know the feeling. I missed it too. So, what was not here was actually pretty pleasing for a change? No more protesters.
Oh, no, the protesters were there.
I know they were, but they weren't as big or efficient as they were in previous years. They were like there, but in very small numbers and on the island or on the park where they were located. At least what I saw. But like majority of the protesters that we're going to know, and I wouldn't say love, but like we're grown to know, have always been in the front of the convention center. Cosplayers obviously had their fights with them, or they would like do something funny, or Jesus would come out and like do something funny and awesome with them. And now, like this past year, they weren't there in the front, or at least a good majority of them were not there, and it was actually quite nice for a change.
Maybe they couldn't find a spot because of the construction either.
Oh yeah, definitely. If they
No, but what I had actually seen them in front of the Marriott building, and they were there for at least 2 of the 4 days.
Interesting. I did not notice, but then again, I don't think people really notice either, since they're usually up in the front most of the time, previous years.
Yeah, I stayed at the Hilton, and because of the way everything was squished in, I spent so long in cosplay gathering areas, I really didn't wander to the front of the place until I was ready to look for dinner.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
Yeah, and that's pretty much how most of the convention was, unless you were directly going for transportation from building to building. You weren't going to be, walking out of the front. And that whole section was dedicated to, as mentioned before, photography and cosplaying, so...
Mm-hmm.
The protesters kind of didn't, really have much fuel for their fire.
Right. Amongst all of this, like, everything else but the convention center has not changed. Obviously, the rooms are still the same. The panels that some of us went to were just as awesome as they were before. So really, after that, there wasn't much of a change at all, really.
Actually, might I make a note?
Mm-hmm.
If correct me if I'm wrong, but I had taken a look at the builds for Exhibit Hall 2 and 3,
Mm-hmm.
and it looks like Exhibit Hall 2 was extended by about 20 feet to either side. So it had just, or rather, like 20 feet collectively.
Mm-hmm.
So it had a little extra room, but not enough to be considered terribly noteworthy.
Right.
And Exhibit Hall 3, it looks like it had an expansion of, I'd say maybe about 20 or 30 feet or so, because there was that whole out-jutting section of the of the hall, and on the whole, it looked considerably larger, and it's not from all the people that were crammed in there.
Right, right.
Like, it actually looked more filled, but in a larger space.
Okay. So aside from our negative talk about the convention, what were the things that you saw that were really cool, or just like kind of like a random moment, which is pretty awesome that just happened? Jeremy, I'll let you go first.
Believe it or not, this involves you to a small degree.
Mm-hmm.
We had just gotten done on Sunday at about noon with the 7 Oops interview.
Mm-hmm.
And I wandered out to the Sailor Moon one, and unfortunately because of the interview, I didn't get out there when things started. Well, actually, I should say I wandered up to my room not paying attention to time,
Mm-hmm.
checked out my list, and realized I was going to be late.
Mm-hmm.
So by the time I ran down there, there was photographers in a solid group. There was no way I was going to get any good angles on this, so I stood and waited, hoping to grab some people later. And I kept thinking about the interview because 7 Oops is a really young band.
Mm-hmm.
And the lead singer, the drummer was the most vocal one, but the lead singer has this short orange bob, and it was just really easy to pick out among the 4 of them. And as I was standing there just kind of looking over the crowd and looking over the photographer's shoulders at the Sailor Moon gathering, suddenly the same orange bob bounces underneath my vision.
No way.
Yeah, so I look down and I'm looking at her back and finally I just tap her on the shoulder. She spins around and I just look as harmless as I can. I say, hi, and she looks up at me and goes, "Oh,
That's so cool.
She's really to see me all of a sudden, and the handler appears out of nowhere and says, "Oh, it's you again." I said, "Yeah, it's, at the Sailor Moon gathering." And she actually started asking me, why are they doing Sailor Moon? Oh, they're probably kind of excited that it's being remade. And she turns around and starts talking really quickly to the band in Japanese, and the singer looks up at me and says, "Remake?"
No way. That is so cool.
She grabs her phone, she leans down in front of the photographers and starts taking a picture of like part of the cosplay group, and I'm sure that none of these people realized that a Japanese star was sitting right in front of them. And male members of the band are looking around kind of bored, then they see something with a lot of hip, and they both just kind of rush off in that direction.
Mm-hmm.
The drummer's staring at me because I don't think she understands why I'm just wandering around the middle of the place.
Wow.
The sad thing is that, like, now after you mention it, I saw them at least 5 times throughout the whole freaking weekend, and I didn't even notice.
They were really fun and everything, and I tried to stop them for just a cell phone photo just for the fun of it, but their handler said they had to go, and I didn't want to be a dick. So I just said, oh, well, I appreciate it. And the entire band was nice enough to turn around and say sorry, thank you, and bye.
Mm-hmm.
They were really sweet to me for being a first-time interviewer.
Wow, that's really cool. That's the kind of stuff you see on like some CNN stuff, some heartwarming stories.
There was a few people speaking pure Japanese around such a small convention. I need to go back through the guests of honor list because I have a feeling I have pictures of a few more people that I should know of, but I just plain don't.
Right. That's awesome. That is really cool. Chris,
Yes,
I saw them pictures. You were having a great time at fanime.
Oh, no, which day are you talking about? I'm pretty sure you're referring to Saturday.
Oh
now.
yeah, definitely. The day where you test the limits of fanime.
Yeah, interestingly enough, I was what was that?
I don't know. I was just going to ask. It sounded like one of those things where you might need a condom. I don't know.
Well, you know what? I guess in some respects, contextually, that sort of makes sense.
Don't take the whole duty. Just tell the story.
Okay, first off, no, there was no hanky-panky.
Okay.
I was flaunting some of my hanky-panky, but... No, jokes aside, though, in the convention rulebook, it says that male nudity is not acceptable at the convention, and that, if approached by a security guard, they would tell you to cover up. And,
wow, that's a rule I didn't even know I was following.
Yeah, no, that's stated in the rule book somewhere. I can't remember where exactly, but it's like in the cosplay rules and guidelines thing. That like with Jessica Negri, for example, whom Again, I will openly admit that I do not like her whatsoever.
Okay.
Yeah,
But-
we talked about her a little bit on the 20s last week. We were pretty much of the mind of F that bitch.
Yeah, don't worry. You've got a fellow brother in arms here, and I can actually, if you want, we can do a whole segment about comparing Yaya Han, who was at fanime 2013, to Jessica Nigri, and then have a field day with that.
Ooh, okay.
Honestly, I can actually point a lot of differences between the two, but again, it's something.
Yeah, go on. Talk about your day. We'll leave that for another day.
Yeah, which, like I said, that would probably be good content. But sorry, I keep getting sidetracked.
No, that's cool.
So, anyway, in the rules it says that male nudity, it's still considered indecent exposure, so you can't do that. And I figure, okay, well, I'm dressed as Vincent Brooks, and I'm going to be running around in my boxers and a wig and homemade ram horns, which honestly I have yet to find ones that were better designed, because they're like they either stick out or they're straight. The point is, like, they don't actually have like the natural ram curvature, and it just seems inauthentic.
Mm-hmm.
Not to say that mine are fantastic, but
they look like jewels on your chest. So there were.
Oh no, that part I'm gonna get to.
Oh, okay, my bad.
I was talking about the horns I was wearing on my head.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Now, what I did to work with the rules was, I said, okay, no male nudity. Problem is that, normally at cons, if a man happens to be topless, they make you cover your nipples up with bandages or tape, or wear a fishnet or something. So what I did, I went out of my way and drove down to Evangeline's and bought myself a $12 pair of heart-shaped red rhinestone encrusted heart pasties, and I stuck those over my nipples, and I was running around and I was just flaunting, oh my god, I had a blast. I was swarmed with photographers that were taking pictures of me, and I'm like doing all these highly narcissistic and egomaniacal poses. like I'm doing like this, like almost like a quasi split thing, and it's like in a runner stance, but I'm admiring my arm while I'm holding my pillow. And there was a one scene that I had, and it was by the Marriott, where like I have my legs about as far spread as I can get, and then I have my hand behind my head, and here I am, I'm gyrating my hips to the camera.
Nice.
And I had a group of like 20 people, and then like they're all laughing and taking pictures, and everyone is just, I probably brought like the most flair to the convention in that one day, just running around with my shiny, glittery nipple accessories. And to quote Vegeta from Team 4 Stars Dragon Ball Z Abridged, episode 34, "Yes, the challenge excites me. Look at my nipples. Look at them!"
Yeah. Oh man, I saw you running around. You look like you were really having fun. I saw like a couple of Catherine cosplayers were taking pictures of you.
Yeah, and interestingly enough, I had no idea that there was an Atlas gathering on that day too.
Oh,
so yeah, I ended up getting. I still was able to make it into the shots, but I have yet to find them.
Oh, I see.
I got into there just as they were about to do the Catherine shoot, and so everyone gets into the shot. I toss off my shoes, and then I run, and I do like this runner's, like this baseball slide, and then I do the 70s porn star pose. Like I'm doing the whole paint me like one of your French girls thing.
Nice.
Right in front of me. Leg just spread out, and again, like everyone's laughing their asses off. And oh my god, I have never had so much fun, and I'm going to be doing that more and more often, especially since Troy Baker's coming to SAC Anime, and I'm going to see if I can get him to sign my chest or something.
That would be awesome. Wow, I'm really glad you really had fun that day, and also the entire fanime.
Yeah, and the thing is, this is something I don't say often. This is the first time in a few years that I've ever actually had as much fun as I did.
Nice. Good to hear. Good to hear. Some of the things I witnessed when I was going around the con, obviously there are the random things that do happen that, obviously you just have to stand there and laugh. What really was the big highlight for me was, I was walking down, I think in front of near the front of the convention center. I was going around taking pictures, taking videos, taking coverage. And I see this tall guy with his girlfriend just kind of standing by themselves in the corner of the convention center. I stared at him for like a minute, because I knew it from somewhere. I was walking the other direction, and then it hit me, like this tall guy, is actually Max Scoville from Destructoid. And I went and talked to the guy. I was like, holy crap, it really was you. So we talked about a good few minutes. He's really enjoying himself. The man is freaking tall. I didn't like they make everything smaller on TV or on the internet, but man, he is tall as hell. He was a really cool dude. I talked to him. I met his girlfriend. He was there with his friend of his, Scott Bromley. And they were there checking out the con for a day, and he was telling me like he was like really impressed with the cosplays and how creative that people get. The last time you ever seen anything like this was Comic-Con. So that was like one of the biggest highlights I saw of my convention, was seeing him and meeting him. And it was like, I think I was the only guy to actually recognize him out of the group, because there was nobody else like going up to him at all.
Probably because he's super tall and he has the chick with him, so there's no approach.
Good point. But like, I mean, obviously the other big thing for me was I went to the Assist Me panel, the Ultimate Marvel's Capcom 3.
Yep.
That was really cool. I got to see a sneak peek into the next season they're working on. And for those who don't know, Assist Me is a online web show that is hosted on, I believe, Miles 628 or something to that nature. You can look it up on YouTube, but it's a big series. Like, they go in discussions as far as like how to use a character, but it also mix in like some comedy and an actual storyline to each episode with some of the characters they have there. So it's really cool to see a sneak peek into the next season. And it was really cool seeing, Dr. Doom and Wesker there. But aside from that though, I really had fun at fanime. The one thing I will say though, just out of curiosity, Jeremy, how many gatherings did you go to at fanime?
Wow, that's a question I'm not sure I could answer. Because of the way... this is the first convention where I've had like not just a press badge, but interviews, so I think every day but the last day I was literally wandering from place to place from about 10 in the morning until an average about 4 in the afternoon.
Wow.
So that's why I don't have a whole lot of panel listings in my reports. I literally wandered from gathering to gathering trying to cover as much stuff as I could.
Right. Chris, did you happen to, aside from the Atlas one, was there any other ones you managed to stumble upon or happen to cross?
While I didn't get to participate in too many, I did happen to run into a few photo shoots. Well, aside from, I'll just start that saying that aside from the Atlas Gathering, I also saw a Neon Genesis Evangelion one, which I'm going to go ahead and give props to Yaya Han for her Misato's plug dress.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
So that was a gathering I ran across. I have a couple photos of her, but I wasn't sure what she was doing there.
That was actually part of a whole NGE thing, because the whole entry plug cross-section was there.
It was
Yeah, you may want to explain the cockpit, because that was kind of unique.
Oh, that was awesome.
Yeah, that's the entry plug for the Ava units. But in Yaya Han's case, honestly, I can't say that I can fully authenticate, her design as a canon outfit. I know I've seen it in as a figure when I was doing a bit of research for her costume, and I saw that it was from a cast-off figure, as in you can see boobies under it.
No.
She actually had to edit it to make it more modest.
Right.
Believe it or not. I just wanted to throw that out there. It's like, dude,
Oh, I know.
Yeah, I took pictures of that dress, and I must say, even with the edits, there wasn't much modesty in it. She kept tugging at the back of the skirt like every 30 seconds.
Right.
Yeah, because
I'm not saying that because she went out trying to project horror. I'm saying that because she did the best she could as making that into a dress, because it definitely wasn't designed as one.
Right,
No,
definitely.
the thing is, I honestly, I legitimately don't know if that's a canon interpretation or not.
I'm trying. I mean, the thing is, though, was like it was as far as it was Ava inspired. I think it's cool. I mean, it's one of those cases where, like, if you go to, like, say, I don't know, like a bleach gathering, and, like, there's, like, your normal looking shimigamis, and then you got your kind of street clothes shimigamis, and then your fan art type of deal. As long as it's canon to the series, and I think it's fine in my opinion.
I'm always more impressed when people don't go canon to the series and show a level of ingenuity. It's always those types of people that grab my attention.
Mm-hmm, definitely. But you can. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, as long as it's a character from the series, if you have some kind of original iteration, I'd like to see it. If it's one of those cases where you're standing in the middle of an Evangelion group, then suddenly Ranma shows up in a plug suit, I'm a little disappointed in you.
Yeah, definitely. The reason why I asked about how many gatherings you guys been to is because I went to a few myself, and there was something I noticed that I have not noticed in a long time, is that there were more parents bringing their little kids to the gatherings as well as the fanime itself. There was obviously a lot of awe moments when the baby or the little kid would come in and dress as, like the one I went to, the League of Legends gathering. Like, there was a baby Timo, and there was also a little kid, and it was interesting to see it because, like, more so than ever, I think that I'm not saying to say this just for the sake of it, but, like, they're growing the next generation of cosplayers. But, like, it was really cool seeing, like, these parents bring in their kids, dressed in cosplay, and really welcome, showing them the anime community, and how an open arms we are with with everything.
Well, I was
go ahead.
I was in the middle of the Marvel group. I dressed up as Luke Cage for that one, and somebody did bring, I think 2 different couples brought their kids dressed up as Captain America and War Machine.
Nice.
The gathering itself was a mess for different reasons, but they were a cute little addition.
Mm-hmm.
I saw a couple kids who stopped like half the Disney cosplayers they saw and just wanted photos with them while their parents took them.
Mm-hmm.
I did see a fair amount of parents, but it wasn't like parents dragged along by their kids for the most part.
Mm-hmm.
It was the opposite. It was the parents who were taking their kids along who happened to be growing passion because they see a bunch of adults doing what they do as children. They're playing dress up.
Yeah.
And it's very appealing. As V would say, hey, could you keep your language PG-13? I'm trying to indoctrinate here.
And on that note, since we're mentioning the little children's here, I'm not sure if anyone's checked out the fanime album I've posted on MSP or my editions through the website, but there was this little girl that was being pushed along in a lickety-split like stroller thing that was made, and this mom and dad, they had dressed up their daughter like Vanellope von Schweetz, and she's in this little like ho-ho roll, like Wreck-It Ralph themed stroller cart, and it was the most adorable thing I had ever seen in my life.
Yeah, I saw that too. I was like, wow, that is so awesome.
I almost cried at how cute that was. Hey, that doesn't happen often. I was at a loss for words at just how goddamn cute.
Yeah, so
that sounds adorable. I wish I had seen it because I saw the kids wandering around, but the only one I actually overheard was kind of the opposite. It was this 16-year-old girl who I guess was leading her dad around by the nose for the convention. And I was passing through the dealer's hall, and there she was, leaning over something. I think she was finishing a purchase, and her dad was just kind of over her shoulder. He didn't look like he was judging. He just looked like he was trying to understand what was going on around him. She walks away a couple steps, and he's still taking a quick look at the booth. Suddenly she turns around and yells, "Dad, we're leaving!"
Oh, yeah. No, I was actually there at that instance, and God.
Yeah, I'm a parent. I have a 9-year-old who talks to me like she's 16, and I think that would be the point where I just suddenly reach out and embarrass her in the middle of the dealer's hall. You are not going to treat me like that if I paid your damn ticket.
Yeah, definitely.
And the thing is, it's not often that I'll go ahead and say, as a teenager, what a bitch.
Absolutely, dude. There's teen angst, and then there is absolutely just being an idiot. And she definitely the latter.
Right.
Yeah, that's an understatement.
Mm-hmm.
But Freight, since you mentioned that you didn't take a look at the shots that I mentioned, there are 8 of them, I think, of up in the album. You can also check that on my personal if you want to go through it quicker.
Right.
All right, cool.
I will throw.
So fucking adorable.
I will throw out my own little story as far as like a little kid goes. Is that on Sunday I was dressed up as Paul Phoenix from Tekken. I was walking around. I was in the game room for just chilling, playing games, and I happened to stumble on 2 Tekken cosplayers. One of them was Jean Wall, and I asked for a picture for her, and she's like, sure, definitely, because like there were very few Tekken cosplayers walking around. And then as I was doing that, these 2 parents come up to me and asked me like, would you mind posing with our daughter? And like behind their legs, like they come about this little girl who dressed up as Lily from Tekken. She was really cute. And like we posed for a picture, and they thanked me, and I was like, "Wow, that was awesome." I mean, like I'm not the type of person to like really like express my, what's the word I'm looking for? I guess sensitive side. I guess when it comes to cuteness factor, but that was really awesome and cute, and yeah.
No, it does improve your experience when something unexpectedly adorable happens. I mean, most of the time at conventions, something really freaking embarrassing happens.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. Aside from that, I think this year I didn't go to the rave. I heard it was good. I mean, I heard it was the same as last year. Still, it's separated in 2 rooms. Let's see. Game room was the same.
I have some commentary on the rave if you want.
You're going to have to give it. I skipped out on that consciously because I drove from Los Angeles, so my energy level was kind of ebbing and flooding rather strongly during the day and weakly at night.
Right. I wasn't, particularly there. It was actually a first for me, actually, so that was interesting. But yeah, like, go ahead. Sorry, go.
I was just gonna give a quick little segment about the rave. From what I had gathered, since a friend of mine opted to go into the hentai room that night, and unfortunately that was also cut short. But God, it was still there's actually different commentary that I have for that as well.
Right.
Fun segues. Anyway, about the raves that were being held, a few of my friends thought, hey, let's, go to the rave, maybe have some Fireball beforehand, and, went over there, and I gathered from them that after about 10 to 15 minutes, they thought that it wasn't as great as it was last year, to put it mildly. That's the rave itself. Go ahead.
I was going to ask if they put a finger on a specific reason for that, or if this was just an overall feeling.
Actually, it was repurposed music.
So it's basically the same music as it was last year?
From what I had gathered, the music, there wasn't really much change, considering that every single year at fanime or SAC anime, when you go to the rave, you're going to be hearing a lot of the similar stuff, sure, but there's always new stuff that's added to it to change up beat, tempo, rhythm, hell, even the emotion of there to go from, just carefree to angst to, what have you, based on, who's DJing at what time and whatever.
Right.
Unfortunately, from what I had gathered, it was a direct mimic from what was presented in events past, and that the lighting, there was no change that was put into it, and it seemed, if anything, they just took the same exact setup and then just hit play again.
That may go along with something else I heard, was that a lot of the veterans running the convention in the last few years, between this year and last, they left, and a bunch of new people have been brought in, so they may have been playing with the existing setup without an idea of what needed to be changed.
I see.
Yeah. I mean, you figure that after a while, as a performer, you get to know your crowd, and as a crowd, you get to understand the performer, and then when you have something that's new introduced to the mix, there's a jarring effect that can cause some sort of disservice or disillusionment.
Interesting. I mean, I could see the fanime is going through kind of a transition, not only with the construction, but just kind of like the staffing that they are, I guess, getting more people to join.
Which, did we mention it was horrendously understaffed?
Yeah, that's true. But that's interesting. That's good to know too. Now I'm gonna try to keep this as clean as possible. And Chris, you can help me out here. I didn't go, but I've heard it was okay. Okay, so how was the hentai room?
Honestly, I was only in there for about collectively an hour, so I really didn't get to see much of how things turned out.
Mm-hmm.
The pheromones chased you out?
No, it's not that. I actually had to leave with the other members of, the hotel room I was sharing. So as a courtesy to them, I was, going along.
Mm-hmm.
That and plus, by the time I actually got in, it was getting close to about an hour till the shuttle stopped, and I was at the DoubleTree, so
I see.
Kind of SOL if I don't have a ride.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, I definitely hear you.
So I figured, okay, you know what? I'm just go along with it, whatever. But for the hentai viewing room, they instituted a couple things. You know how there's Anthony, you remember how there's that guy there that has a laser pointer that points to certain bits?
Mm-hmm.
And I'll just refer to bits because it can be really anything.
Right, yeah.
But they had actually stopped what they were showing just like in mid-scene and said, okay, whoever has the laser pointer, if you do that again, we are going to shut down the night. Nobody is going to enjoy anything, and we are all going to escort you out.
Wow. Straight up, yo.
Yeah, no, they
so well.
flat out said, we're not fucking around. If you're gonna mess around with this, we're gonna mess around with your night and shove you all out.
Wow.
What is the message there? Your red dot is ruining our enjoyment of porn. Could you please cut that out?
Well, the thing is that it's not actually the quote-unquote appreciation of porn, per se. It's the act of watching smut with, new people and friends alike, and you're constantly berating and, making degrading comments and humorous satire to everything that's being displayed.
It's like Mystery Science Theater, but for hentai, for porn.
For lack of a better expression, yeah, it's pretty much like that. Or, even better, you're going to a comedy club and the entire show is dedicated to heckling the comedian.
Yep, pretty much. It's pretty awesome. Yeah.
That's pretty much how it breaks down, to be totally honest with you, Freight.
Sounds like hanging out with Flavo Flav for a few hours.
It kind of is. But honestly, though, it was a lot of fun, and of course, I got in my jollies there.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, that's not intended as a
comedic
pun.
jollies, right? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
I got my fill of laughs, but
okay.
Unfortunately, I wish I had more.
Mm.
And when they did the first handshake of the night, I was the first guy to... Well, this was on Saturday, mind you. I was the first guy to actually get up on my chair and pose like the Captain Morgan pirate with my hands up in the air.
Nice.
I actually turned around to the crowd and said, look at me.
It's so cool. Wow.
But again, I was only there for about an hour, so I don't know if that trend caught on or anything.
Right.
It was a lot of fun, and honestly, if I went as Vincent again, I would prefer to be in my underwear. It would just make everything seem that much more appropriate for that situation.
Definitely.
At least they didn't find your laser pointer.
Yeah. Awesome.
Or as Rin would say, I believe the problem is in your pants.
Oh man, that sounds great. So overall, I think, as far as overall, I think, or did you any of you went to the masquerade just by any chance, or?
I couldn't.
No.
I was caught up with a lot of other stuff.
Okay, same here.
Yeah.
I was posting a couple things.
Yeah, same here. I skipped out on it this time.
I did hear a couple people who went to it who were disappointed.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they weren't disappointed in the cosplayers per se, but there was apparently a few sections where the audio dropped out, and it turned into such a regular problem that a lot of people were relatively irritated. I haven't heard from people who took place, who actually took part in the masquerade. All the responses and reviews I've received are pretty much by people who sat in the audience, and a few of them felt bad for the people who were taking part. Apparently, the audio cut out early on in skit, and they never got it back.
Oh, wow.
To restart.
Wow. There is the entire masquerade already up, I think, by American Cosplay Paradise. So if you guys want to go check out what we're talking about, it's up on their site. But yeah, I've heard that from a few friends that the masquerade was okay or was not that great. Like there was a few like stereotypical tropes that they just threw in there, like somebody being proposed and this and that. So
was it like PMX where Gangnam Style won everything?
I don't know.
Actually, it was The Gentleman.
Oh, Gentleman. Oh, okay. Well, at least that's new. At least I could be okay with that.
Yeah, no, and on that note, that big stage 0 thing that they have at the top of the staircase.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
They actually had a gentleman. Can't really say it's a dance-off, but they had a bunch of people and they were doing the whole, posing and everything. And there were even 2 different Psy cosplayers that were in the full suit and glasses, hairdo, everything.
Right. Funny enough, like I think there was more than at least 2 or 3 Psy cosplayers I've seen at this convention.
Yeah, you got to be careful with that though, because that as a fad is starting to wear on the nerves of the other people around them.
True.
Me, I don't really care, but I heard more than a few grumbles. Another Psy. You almost had to escort this person to a bathroom, make them change their clothes real quick so they can survive.
Honestly, I only saw 2.
Yeah. I think the last thing I want to talk about, or at least 2 last things, is like the cosplays. Was there anything that stood out to you that were like you had to drop to your knees, like, oh my god, let me take a picture of you?
Yeah.
Can I go first?
Oh, please do.
Okay, sorry, I was kind of fanboying when I saw this one group. They go by the name Thick Bread Cosplay, and as I'm sure that I'm seriously hoping that our fans have taken a look at the albums that I've posted. There was this whole section where Thick Bread Cosplay, which was participated by Cerulean Draco, who happened to be cosplaying as Crom, DW Cosplay, who was Sully, Burr Loire, who was Noir, Gwyffin, who was Lucina, there we go, and Hard Workin' Guts, who was Virian. And for whatever reason, I think I'm missing someone here. But anyway, apparently a lot of the props that were made were by Hard Workin' Guts. And from the full-on original Fire Emblem artwork, everyone in the group had to detail every single thing. It was absolutely perfect.
Nice.
So Sully, she had the hair done in the right way. She had the armor. She has the little mini shields on her waist. Every aspect of the costume was perfect, and that's actually where I found out that Hard Workin' Guts had put together her outfits, including the falchions for Gwyffin and Cerulean Draco.
Awesome.
But everyone's outfits were perfectly done, and the group consisted of, from left to right, as I've memorized the picture, it was Sully, Lucina, Crom, Noir, Owain, Cynthia, and Virian. And I was actually even able to point out who the fathers were supposed to be for the child units there.
Awesome. Sweet.
And it was just really awesome to take a look, and I would go far enough to say it's, something to pin up to the top of the page. It was breathtaking, for lack of a better word.
Awesome. Jeremy, what was the highlight? What was the cosplay that you had to just stop and just stopped you in your tracks and just sit there in awe?
That would have had to have been Venom.
Ah.
I am a big comic book fan, as people know. The current Venom looks like a cross between the black suit Spider-Man and kind of a dark mercenary gear.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody had done it in head to toe, and it showed up for the Marvel DC gathering.
Mm.
It was one of those things where every time I saw him, I wanted to get through the group to get to him, but because of crowding issues, we were pretty much shoulder to shoulder while we were waiting.
I see.
Between shots, and I handed my camera off to somebody who took a lot of photos for me during that, so I'm sure there's pictures of him in the album.
Mm-hmm.
But I didn't get a chance to talk to him personally or get anything particular, simply because there must have been about a third of the group who left the gathering in the first 10 minutes of its actual start, simply because they couldn't handle the crowding.
Right. Okay. The highlight for me, as far as like cosplays, like there were so many great cosplays that were in armor and detail, that were so great. But there's one cosplay that stood out to me, and I happened to find this guy. I was walking to the convention center. So, little story. My friend and I are walking back from the Fairmont. We just got done through the pains of the Line Con, and as soon as we walk out and walking toward that direction, we saw this guy parked in the Fairmont, kind of, when you go into the entrance, like there's this little kind of road or little car. I don't know how to explain, but like where cars can come in and drop something off or to get the luggage out. This guy.
A loading zone.
Yes, loading zone. This guy was sitting there parked in a, I believe, I want to say it's like an old car, but it was like specifically made to look like the Mach 5.
Go, Speed Racer, go!
Yeah,
go!
And this guy is in the driver's seat dressed as Speed Racer, and the picture's up on the site. It's really cool when we popped up, stumble upon him, and I was like, wow, that is awesome. Not only did you do your cosplay right, but you did the car right at the same time. So that was really awesome. It was one of the coolest cosplays I've ever seen. There's a ton more, but that was like one of the big ones for me that really stood out to me. I had to take a picture of.
That's cool.
Definitely it is.
And just on that note, which one of you has anyone else here seen Durarara by any chance?
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
Okay, I cannot remember the name of the Doulahan.
Celty.
Celty, thank you.
Uh-huh.
So, at one point at the convention, there was actually a Celty that had, full outfit and was actually riding a motorcycle around the convention center.
I saw that too. What's funny enough? My friend next to me took a picture of it, and then ever since then, that picture has been spreading like a wildfire. Like that picture of I'm not sure it was a dude or a girl, like on a motorcycle with the helmet on it, and like we were all kind of like in that oh my god nerd moment.
And the thing is that the person who was cosplaying a Celty, as soon as the light hit green when they were at the intersection, they gunned it, and they just flew right off, the street and just zipped right down.
Oh, it's so cool, man. It was awesome moment indeed. Awesome.
And the only thing that I think could have made it look even cooler is if they had like this, like almost like a scarf looking thing, so it looks like the black smoke.
Oh yeah, that would have been great.
It was just the leather suit though, but God, that would have been so awesome just to see that stuff just billowing in the background.
Oh yeah, definitely. So I'm gonna ask you guys your final thoughts on this fanime. Jeremy, I'm gonna let you go first.
I was, due to the time constraints and the fact that my convention schedule this year is so aggressive, I was looking for a reason to come back. I'm trying to whittle down my calendar a little bit next year, unless, somebody gives us a bunch of money and, we start getting paid for this.
Oh, yeah.
So I wanted this to show me a reason why it should be on the list. And unfortunately, because of the organization and some of the issues surrounding it, I didn't find that reason. There was too much space and not enough of it was being used for what was there. And the convention itself didn't offer anything truly unique this year outside of its musical guests. If there was any single reason I could think to come back, is because this is some of the strongest cosplay in California.
Definitely, I
I,
agree.
I think that's a plain statement, and I'm a regular person that's seen SAC Anime, Anime Expo, Kamikaze, but these are some of the most energetic and fun cosplayers you will meet. The problem is as far as a hangout convention, it's too expensive.
Mm.
So I maybe in the next 12 months I'll hear of something that'll make me change my mind, but as of right now, I don't have plans to go back simply because they didn't offer enough for me.
Right, right. I hear you. I definitely see, especially this year. Chris, your thoughts?
Um, I have a lot. um, First and foremost, I'll say that the convention itself, they could have refined a lot more given the circumstances that they had presented before them, the opportunities that they had with the guests of honor, the panels, everything. It could have just used a serious, you know, like it was like they had submitted a rough draft that only took about 3 hours.
Right.
Now, I'm the type of person that's, put that to an actual school assignment and I can walk off with an A. And, well, just to use an actual example, I put together a speech that was supposed to take 2 weeks in the course of 10 hours, and I pulled 110% off of that. So, yeah, it's just that, unfortunately, they're not that type of group to be able to do that. Um, Honestly, though, if they had better accommodations, especially for the artists, which I'm kind of mad I didn't have the opportunity to go back to an internet interview with the artists that I talked to at the convention. But if they had given them more respect and proper guidance in the convention center to say, Artist Alley has been moved out here and it is not going to be seen in Exhibit Hall 1, registration is going to be located at the Fairmont, and they were very clearly, largely printed signs, the whole flow of the convention itself could have been improved.
Yep.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
to go with Jeremy's statement there, I think that they had too much space and yet not enough at the same time.
Mm.
That the amount of physical space that was there was almost overwhelming, and yet the way that they handled everything, they ended up forcibly working people into these uncomfortable positions, and it didn't work out too well.
Mm.
So there's point number 2.
Mm-hmm.
Number 3, in regards to the tickets. Dear sweet fucking lord, the tickets. Which I probably should have addressed as point 1. There were a few things that had been brought forth, and hell, I even interviewed famous cosplayer Living Ichigo about this, and he said that, something that could work, and honestly, I'd be all for it, paying extra to have your physical, registration ticket mailed to you, like, paying like an extra $5 for shipping or, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
That could have dramatically cut down times, and thinking of the people who had pre-registered, I mean, on day 0, waiting 6 hours plus to get a ticket, that's just not right.
Right. You're not alone in that. I've heard rumblings of that idea go around in the convention circuit, especially in the California area.
But that's not the only one that I think could also be practical in this respect.
Mm-hmm.
I always have trouble when people recommend mailing badges home prior to a convention because people are so sophisticated. It's not just loss; it's replication.
Yeah.
Even the plastic cards is possible to be replicated these days at home. So I always worry about that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, I was thinking, like in that respect, something along the lines of, I don't know, like a QR code, or hell, even like on the back of these iTunes cards that each one has a different number to them that, you can only get that by peeling off the back. And
you know what? Mailing a glyph to houses that people had to come in and redeem. I like that idea. That could streamline a lot.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
Yeah. So there is that. One other suggestion that I thought would be really great is if they had something like a Fandango of sorts to the tickets. Like what you do is you have a printout, or you bring it on your phone, you get it scanned in line 1, you move your way over, and then while you're waiting to get that, it gets printed out, and someone just passes that off to you as well as your administration badge.
Mm.
For the people that decide, hey, I want to pay day of, if you can look up prior registration, like in our case, through a Mission Start podcast, I figure, oh, okay, you're a returning guest, something like that.
I see.
That could also cut down on that and say, oh, okay, you were here before, and maybe throw in like a perk or a coupon or something. Just say, thank you for coming back to the convention. It's great to see you again. Here's a little something for your continued patronage.
Right, right.
I don't know. I'm just ballparking ideas here.
No, it's fine. If they happen to, take our ideas, let it be known first that we threw that ideas out there in the first place.
Yeah, so I seriously hope someone overhears this.
Well, let's make sure to mail a link to the admins.
Yo, royalties. We want those royalties there.
Well, it would be nice, but those are just a couple ideas.
Mm-hmm.
Other than that, let's see. I covered Artist Alley, covered Space, covered registration. When it comes to vendors, I have to say, well done on their presentation. I actually loved the vendors hall, and I actually thought there was this booth there that was selling this energy drinks labeled, and this is not like out of context. This is actually the title of it, Pussy.
Oh yeah, I saw that.
And
yeah,
and they were also selling bongs there, which I just couldn't stop laughing at.
Yeah.
Okay, so they know their audience. We're in San Jose.
Yes, that was interesting. So I was like, huh, okay.
But honestly, I think that if there was a bit more discretion with that, because as mentioned before, there were kids at this event. So
it's true. Yes.
If I don't know, maybe it was behind, or like say if inside the booth itself, if they had like a little jutting in section, it could be like a curtained off area or something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was going to say maybe if you had a barker, but it really doesn't sound any better if you got someone standing in front of your table going, hey, wants a pussy?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I know. It's just like, it's not terribly practical to try and implement that, but at the same time, it's still an idea that there was the space to accommodate it. It's just working in like an actual alley in a person's booth to sell that. It's highly impractical.
Right. Okay.
Other than that, I'd like to apologize to a vendor over at the con. The guy, I don't know his name, but he's the he's a little on the shorter side, the portly Asian man with glasses selling manga and stuff at 20% off.
There were a lot of those. I'm not trying to,
Okay, it was this really, really big booth towards the center of the convention that probably took up the most space of any other booth, and it was filled wall to wall with manga and anime DVDs.
I think I know what you're talking about, but yeah, go on.
Okay, so I noticed he was selling the hardback like reprints of Nausicaa, The Valley of the Wind, and I saw it was originally $60 on sale for 48. And I thought, shit, this is a good deal. I want to get this. And, but I was still really wary about buying it. So I decided to check Barnes & Noble, and I feel really bad because as soon as I went to purchase it, it came up on my phone as about $10 cheaper. And I asked, I'm sorry, I found this cheaper online. I think I'm not going to buy this. And so I made him fish out my bills again, and he said, okay, so you're not going to buy this? How about you never shop at my booth again?
Mm.
Oh!
Yeah.
Yeah, I got chewed out, and I feel really bad about it. It's just, I told him I just don't want to have buyer's remorse. I'm sorry.
Mm-hmm.
But honestly, though, it's been eating me up for a week and a day.
I don't know why you feel bad, because the guy could have either shown some graciousness or some salesmanship, because either way, you shouldn't be chewing out a potential customer.
But
I mean,
the thing is,
someone in my...
I was just going to say that, unfortunately, this guy's attitude is pretty par for the course. Like, if you know him, you know that it's not... Like, he isn't doing that act of actual anger. It's just how he responds. It's like, oh, you're gonna fuck me over? Fine, I'll fuck you over. And
Well, that's the thing, though. It's not like you're effing him over. It's literally you just found it for a more reasonable price than you thought you would.
yeah, and the thing is, like, I know it's all bark and no bite, but at the same time, I still feel bad for inconveniencing him. I know that, hell, he had the most popular manga booth over there, which is why he could pull off the sale, and even with that considered, I still feel, bad about it. But then again, you can say I'm kind of a pussy, so whatever.
Well, no, if I can interject, there was the guy running the comic seller who was the only one selling like pretty much nothing but art books.
Wait.
He pulled
The art books or the manga seller?
the art books.
Oh.
He was near the front of the dealer's hall on the left-hand side.
Oh, yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
That guy.
He pulled off a dick move with one of the people I was rooming with. I was trying to do something similar to what I do, is that just take a picture of something you want to come back and think about later. And he leaned in to take a quick picture of the cover of a book that he was holding on to. The guy running the booth, this bald guy with glasses, snatched the book out of his hand and pretty much accused him of trying to steal from him by taking pictures of the book.
And it's understandable to have that sort of thought because, let's face it, you're buying a book for the pictures, and if you... But
he's standing there. He's not on the slide taking pictures of every page in the book. He's trying to take a picture of the cover.
Yeah. Well, I'm just saying, like, I can see where, his response came from, but I don't condone it.
Right.
Yeah, I don't get the response because he could have started by asking, what are you doing?
Aside from all this, Chris, did you had a good time at Fanime?
Oh, God, I absolutely loved it there. And, when it came to Saturday, just being showered with photographers just everywhere. Such a stroke to my massive ego.
Well,
okay, I will flat out say I have a gigantic ego. But joking aside, though, I honestly loved it there. I'd come back, but I think that there's a lot of things that need to be refined, and there is a word of caution that I have to a manga vendor over at the convention. And it's a different one that I had just mentioned. There's this other one, I think the booth name is Comics World, and they probably have the worst salesmanship I have ever seen at a convention. And by this, I mean they have an okay selection of books, and for a manga file like myself, I posted it on my personal, but I have now over 658 volumes of manga. I literally did a count through, and I have... Anyway, I keep interjecting my own story.
No, it's fine. It's
okay. The first step is admitting you have a problem.
Well, I can always share it to the MSP page, and it's worth taking a look through, I think. But that aside, the Comics World booth, which I think that's the title, just don't quote me on that. They have the poorest salesmanship that I've ever seen, as they have their books, they charge them at full price, they add tax to it, there's no deals that they work with, and if you don't want to buy something from them, then they look at you with disdain, like, why the fuck did you even bother wasting our time, you sick sack of shit? And I'm not even joking. I had the stink eye given to me when I found out that they weren't, going to have like any sort of promotional deal to work with the with the con goers. And it felt like a massive kick to the groin, because as a person like myself that absolutely loves this, seeing that there's a booth there and they're selling all this stuff, and they're also selling it at an inflated tax rate that best suits them, it doesn't do any good for them, because I figure, why buy it here when I can just buy it at Barnes & Noble? Or, hell, I can check Amazon, and I could probably find it anywhere up to 50% off.
Right, right. No, I respect that. You keeping it real, and as I said, this podcast, I might as well title this podcast "Fanime 2013: Keeping It Real Edition."
But yeah, and the thing is that they always come back, and they always sell at the highest value that they can, quote unquote, appropriately give. And I just think that it's poor salesmanship at a convention, and that they should consider their audience a bit more before going into something like that.
Right, right. Okay, understandable.
And that's the last, novel that I'll give for the night, I guess.
Okay. For me, Fanime is a convention I always go to just because I grew up. It was my first big anime convention, and it will be my last if I ever decide to quit. But that's gonna be not for a long time. It had my ups and downs. Obviously, there were issues with the convention itself and other things like the line con that everybody went through. Aside from that, I had fun. Not to say that my entire time wasn't fun. I did have some fun. Um, and this is the convention I would always come back to every year because of what I stated before. Not only that, but also friends I know just come every year, and it's something of a thing, almost like a tradition we do. So hopefully next year the construction will be done. There'll probably be more space because looking at that big building that is attached to the convention center, it looks pretty cool, and hopefully everything will be set up for next year, more staff and more everything, and hopefully that things will do better next year. But time will tell, and we'll see. I like the fact that the trend of parents bringing their kids to cons like these is awesome. They're breeding the next generation of cosplayers, and I love the fact that it's a welcome, an eye-opening experience, but a heartwarming, welcoming experience for people to see and also to watch. So aside from that, that's my thoughts on Fanime. So thank you guys for this great episode of the Conover.
Sure. I got to do this stuff every week. You think I'd be used to talking on a microphone by now?
Especially with that.
And honestly, it was a lot of fun getting to finally talk about it. And fun thing that I just realized, SACCon was going on today.
Oh yeah, the SAC.
Yeah,
completely forgot about it.
Yeah,
I think Con's finishing up today.
Yeah, it was a one-day type of deal, but for people who still needed something convention-wise, there was SACCon today in Sacramento. Jeremy, where can I find you on the internet?
You can subscribe to me on Twitter. I'm part of the Rolling 20s at rolling_20s. You can also find our show on iTunes and Stitcher. I am on cosplay.com under the screen name Freight. My next scheduled appearance is at Anime Expo. I'm going to be there starting on the 3rd, day 0 and pre-reg. And I'll be leaving on the 8th. Oh my god, it's going to be an extended stay. For anyone that wants to come by and say hi, I'm also helping out the Toho gathering. They want to have a pizza dinner so everyone can sit around and BS for a while, and I've been asked to help with the organization for that.
Cool, awesome. Chris, where can they find you on the internet?
All right, well, got two sources. There's, of course, missionstartpodcast.com and the Facebook page as such. My posting on there is a bit sporadic. Sometimes I'm on there like all the time, and others, well, just throwing in updates here and there as, I get news when I can, and, try to keep things a little fresh and supply content for others.
Mm-hmm.
Other than that, I also post on the Facebook page Kaz Cosplay, which I have considered getting a name change for, and, well, honestly, I wish my fan base was a bit bigger to, not to, be a self-centered douchebag here, but,
Mm-hmm.
but,
you're a cosplayer, you gotta be one.
That's a good point. That's a good point.
Well, yeah, I mean, sure, I love myself, but at the same time, I don't want to pander out to anyone, and
Mhm.
I would prefer people check me out on the basis of being interested in, who I am, what I post, and I'm pretty laid back when it comes to anything that I actually deal with. So, no worries there.
Mm-hmm.
Other than that, you can find me at SAC Anime this upcoming con. Unfortunately, I won't be able to make Anime Expo as I had hoped, even though I have the ability to stay in a room. I just don't have the funds, the resources, or the feasibility to make my way to Los Angeles, which...
It's understandable. It's understandable. I hear you.
But anything that's local, I'm going to try and make my way to. And, well, pretty much other than that, you can find me roaming around conventions around the Sacramento area.
Cool. Awesome. You can follow me personally on Twitter at Defective Naruto. You can also follow everything that we do on this podcast as well as everything we do on work-wise, convention-wise, on our website at missionstartpodcast.com. As you can hear, that majority of our coverage from fanime is up on the site, as well as you can check out the animation that was happening in the East Coast, and we're just getting in some coverage from A-Kon from this past weekend as well. So there's a lot of convention coverage we've been putting in as of late. But we also do reviews, previews for games and anime and all that good stuff. And yeah, check it out. Our podcast is obviously on Stitcher as well as iTunes as well. Subscribe, tell your people, tell your mom, tell your brother, your parents, whoever. Spread the news, spread the love. Anyways, what are you gonna say, Jeremy?
I was gonna say maybe you want to leave it out in your church group. I don't know if we're ready for that yet.
I want to say something, but I'm not. Anyways.
Why not? We're keeping it real here.
We're trying to get sponsors. We're not trying to alienate any more people. Anyways, thank you guys again for joining for this podcast. And we will see you all next time.